So in this next part of our story, the king and his companion, followed by Brandel, they stop here at the Herculean statue. Now, Brandel has got the same build as the king. So it looks like his shadow, the king's shadow, is following him as they go towards this building that's going to be over here on the right-hand side of the gardens, where all the pavilions and the lounges were set up, and the houses for apartments of visiting dignitaries and guests. King stops here, he looks at the Herculean statue and he says, if I could only be like Hercules and I could crush this hydra of rumors, and very dramatic. And then they head off to the house of ill repute. They get to the door, it's got a guard out front, and they're admitted. They come in the foyer, and an attendant comes in and he greets the two men who've come to this establishment. He recognizes it's the king pretty quickly. Then he goes in to get the director of the troupe, who the king has asked for. And as he goes into the next room, the king and his companion can hear through the walls that are very thin that all the guffaws and the low-class carousing ends, and they hear the attendant saying, "Ooh, tonight it's going to rain gold because the ruler of Sweden is here." And he says, "My master will pay dearly for this, for the rumor and the value of having this gossip on King Gustav III." The jig is up, the king panics, and he thinks, how do we get out of here? The door is guarded, they're not going to let us out. And then I'm going to have my reputation sullied by this unpleasant incident of finding me in a bordello. And just then, Lieutenant Brandel jumps through the window to save the day. He bows down in front of the king on one knee, and he extends his cloak. And he's got the solution to getting the king out of his mind. The king's very touched by this gesture and being saved by Brandel. So he takes the cloak and the hat, he jumps out the window, and he escapes. Next, the troop director comes in, and he's got a shit-eating grin because he thinks he's got the king by the short hairs. And he, in fact, addresses Brandel as, "Your Majesty, welcome to our establishment." Brandel throws off his cloak and his hat, and he says, "Who the hell do you think I am?" And the director says, "I will not be paying for this information. This is just a regular guy coming here." And he's crestfallen. Later that night, Brandel's at the palace. He meets the king in his library, and the king says, "Tell me any favor that you want granted, and I will grant it." Brandel gets down on one knee and he says, "Your Majesty, more than anything, I want to participate in the tournament tomorrow. Is there any way that you could grant that favor?" And the king looks at him and he considers for a second and he says, "I could not grant that favor to Lieutenant Brandel, but I could grant it to Captain Brandel Hjelm." And Brandel's eyes light up because this means he's been knighted. He's got a title, he's got a promotion, and also he'll be able to marry his paramour, FREDRIQUE von R, because now he's got a noble title. She would, of course, have to get permission from the queen to marry, but that could be arranged.